Carlo Ancelotti inherited a machine from Maurizio Sarri. The banker-turned-manager guided Napoli to second place twice in 3 years. Napoli almost dethroned Juventus last season and amassed a club record of 91 points, but unfortunately they fell 5 points short of taking the Scudetto, and these results simply couldn't satisfy their president Aurelio De Laurentiis. He believed his side had been good enough to win Serie A, but Sarri blew their chance with his rigid tactics. So, out went Sarri, and in came Ancelotti. De Laurentiis believes that he has found the final piece to take down the Turin giant. But Ancelotti faces a gigantic task. Sarri installed a beautiful but also effective style of football in Napoli. People loved the so-called Sarriball. ESPN's Michael Cox called its use of build-up from the back as pressing bait. Napoli played a ridiculous number of short passes and positional exchanges under Sarri. He wanted to overwhelm opponents. They held a constant high-pressing line so that they could dominate possession and avoid being attacked. The best defence is a good offence, is the motto Sarri lives by. Although it's pleasing to watch the quick 1-2s and constant movement, Sarri's style is hard to maintain. Every element in Sarriball depends on another, and the failure of one element destroys the whole system. Every player needs to be on the same wavelength all the time, and these demanding tasks mean that there really isn't any room for errors. Not everyone could make the cut, so Sarri stuck with about 13 or 14 players with meaningful minutes every season. A lack of rotation has been one of the major criticisms of Sarriball. De Laurentiis may be right. That hesitation to rotate might have cost them the Scudetto. Using expected goals and ball possession to measure offensive and defensive efficiency, Napoli slowed down considerably in the second half of last season. They weren't as efficient in generating chances, and their opponents created more shooting opportunities in the final stage of the campaign. Although Napoli maintained similar intensity in their high pressing, their opponents found it easier to pass through the pressure in the second half of the season than they did in the first. Napoli's starters might be exhausted from the lack of rotation, or the opponent found ways to neutralise their tactics. Either way, Sarriball became less effective as the season went on. The first thing Ancelotti has done is distribute minutes to more players, with the aim of keeping his starters fresh for the final part of the season. Napoli are now rotating more than they did at the same stage of last season. With more players entering the rotation, Ancelotti needed new tactics to maintain Napoli's competitive edge. Sarriball is meticulously designed, but also tedious to carry out. Ancelotti needed a system that was effective, but also easy to implement. And his changes were as follows. First, Napoli are now playing faster. The number of passes per possession and the duration of possession has decreased by close to 10%. Instead of playing only short passes, Napoli have doubled their long switch pass, which is any pass that travels at least 60% of the width of the field. They've also shifted from a 4-3-3 to a hybrid 4-4-2. Under Sarri, their pass network focused on the connections Jorginho made in the centre and Lorenzo Insigne and Marek Hamšík made in the left half space. Napoli now play more on the right side, using their newfound switching pass. The 4-4-2 focuses on the flank, and Napoli transform into a 2-4-4 in the offensive phase. The fullbacks and wingers hog the sidelines to stretch the opponent's defence, as the key is to use the width of the field instead of lightning short passes to open the space between the lines. Ancelotti is also more flexible with game-to-game adjustments than his predecessor. He may always field the same 4-4-2, but the attacking shape and method will change according to how the opponent defends. The popularity of 3-5-2 in Italy, for example, especially among the weaker teams, means that Napoli often have to face opponents playing with a 5-man back line. Ancelotti responds to that with a mirrored 2-3-5 attacking shape. And Ancelotti has also modified Napoli's defensive game. He has retained Sarri's constant high-pressure line and frantic counter-pressing system, but he's also improved their zonal defence. When Napoli fail to retrieve the ball through their pressing or counter-pressing, they quickly form a narrow 4-4-2 block, as they don't want the opponent to penetrate the middle space. Napoli's central midfielder will immediately close down the ball handler in the centre. They want to force the ball handler to play with his back towards Napoli's goal or send the ball to the flanks. This pass sonar summarises Napoli's opponent's passing behaviour in the central midfield. This season, Ancelotti's men limit their opponents' use of long vertical passes to bypass the middle of their defence. They force their opponents to reroute passes to the flank, where they can maintain the compact shape while covering less space. So, the different philosophies of the two coaches are in full display. Sarri wants to overwhelm the opponent with precise and repetitive passes and movement. Ancelotti aims to confuse opponents, with his team's flexibility dominating the key areas of the pitch. But the burning question is whether Napoli are playing better than they were under Sarri, and the result doesn't look that promising. Compared to last season, Napoli have created a smaller XG differential. The difference isn't statistically significant, but the trends do suggest that they are not playing as well as they did under Sarri. Compared to last season, they generate fewer XG and concede more XG. So, even though Napoli are playing more efficiently than last season, their 100 fewer passes per game under Ancelotti still leads to their opponents creating more attempts on goal, as those lost passes have just reverted to the opponent. The jury is, of course, still out, but unfortunately for Napoli, Juventus look in a better position to claim the title once again this season.